What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the new album from the band Phalloplasty, entitled Systematic Mutilation. This is released on Gore House Productions. Now, if you're not too familiar with this project, it's based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very simplistic, gore-themed, surgery-themed style of brutal death metal. This is a one-man project formed by a guy by the name of Zach Shaw. He pretty much plays and does everything with this project. Vocals, guitars, drum programming, production, mixing, mastering. He's a one-man machine. And pretty much is a part of a very unique and differing sort of style within the brutal death metal genres. And that is pretty much bands who do everything themselves. One-man sort of styles. I mean, there are lots of bands within this genre. Most notably bands like Putrid Pile, the great Sean Whitaker of Insidious Decrepancy, Blood-Soaked, Cemetery Rapist, Splattered Entrails, the list goes on and on. There are plenty of great bands within that kind of genre. And I first got introduced to this project last year with his debut album, Necrophagic Funeral Ritual. If I'm not mistaken, I had heard of this project, but I had never really heard a single note of it. So in some instances, this is kind of on a blind buy. I listened to this album, and I really, really dug it. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the attention to detail. I really loved the vocals. Some really, really sick riffs. Really wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel of some sorts, but for what was on Necrophagic Funeral Ritual, I was really, really impressed with it, and I thought it had a ton of potential. Then in the same year, 2013, I believe there was a special promo release that featured some brand new tracks. It showed you that there was a step up in production and a little bit more of a growth in the vocal and riff departments. So it made me very optimistic as to what the next project from Phalloplasty would be. And lo and behold, we're here with the sophomoric effort from Phalloplasty entitled Systematic Mutilation. It's 12 tracks, and it clocks in at around 31.5 minutes in length. And this is a much, much shorter record than the previous release. But I honestly think that Systematic Mutilation pretty much takes what the first album had and instantly improved and fixed whatever needed to be fixed. And I think it makes for a much more pleasant listening experience. And it definitely showcases that Zach is growing as a musician and as a songwriter. Yeah. Much, much better production this time around. I definitely think the riffs shine way more here than it did on the first album. And definitely the guitar work is the main highlight of this release. It is very, very emphasized and dominant throughout this entire album. When you hear it on the opening track, Blowtorch Abortion, you just get some really, really slammy, really awesome sort of riff work going on. And then you get to tracks like Nail Gun Slut Massacre, and then the track Inhuman Rituals of Bodily Penetration. Just some really, really unique sort of riff work and ideas being brought forth on those tracks. A little technical in certain instances, but not too technical. It's just in small bits and pieces. But really, I think the guitar work is much more dominant and domineering here. Very well articulated guitar riffs going on here, and I'm just appreciating the heaviness that's brought forth here. As far as the drums are concerned, once again, programmed drums, but the programmed drums sound a lot better here. They sound a little bit more clearer and a lot more articulate. Very well written drum parts, even for a drum machine sort of style going on here. I think Zach handles the drum programming quite well here and delivers some very, very good moments. A lot of fast parts, a lot of slow, slammy sort of situations, but yet I think it's handled very, very tastefully here, and he does a tremendous job with the instrument, with more of the instrumentation that goes on here. And as far as the vocals are concerned, I really enjoyed Zach's vocals on the first album, but this album, he definitely steps up his vocal game a little bit more. I'm really not too sure if there's any sort of emphasis on lyrics or not. It definitely does seem as if it feels a bit like vocal improvisation. I don't know if there's any actual lyrics, but it just feels like a lot of heavily emphasized enunciations, just vocal movements, A lot of really guttural vocals, very low and ugly sounding, almost high-end sort of growls. I think Zach handles himself quite well. And I should also mention this album is full to the brim with guest appearances and guest vocalists. Lots of people are involved in this album. I honestly thought it could have been scaled back a bit. I would have loved to hear more of Zach's vocals as opposed to the tracks that have Zach's vocals and other people on them. No offense to the people who are involved in this album, but I would have liked to have heard more of Zach's vocals here, because I think he's that good. But as far as the people who do appear on this album, there are quite a few people. You have Andrew from Cerebral Incubation, Clay of Cemetery Rapist, Brian Fork from Syphilic, Larry of Coprocephalic, Jonathan of Parasitic Ejaculation, and Tim of Paroxysmal Butchering. They all do their jobs quite well on their particular tracks, but the ones that really do stand out to me would definitely be Nailgun Slut Massacre and Inhuman Rituals of Bodily Penetration. I also think the track Satan's Den with John of Parasitic Ejaculation is pretty good too. Definitely well done. Well, their vocal parts are definitely suiting for each other. They definitely balance each other out quite nicely here. But yeah, I would have loved to have heard more vocal emphasis from Zach by himself. Little less guest appearances, more emphasis on Zach's vocals. But aside from those kind of qualms, I think the vocals are really, really sick all the way throughout. So overall, this is a much better album than Necrophagic Funeral Ritual. I definitely think that in due time, Phalloplasty will continue to get better and evolve more and more and become a more dominant force within one-man death metal acts. There are some other really good albums to come out this year from one-man brutal death metal acts, most notably the new Syphilic release, Toilets Are Us, and the new Infecting the Swarm release, Pathogenesis. All quality releases, but as far as Systematic Mutilation is concerned, I think it's a really, really solid release. So if I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Blowtorch Abortion, Nailgun Slut Massacre, Inhuman Rituals of Bodily Penetration, Forced Entry, and Nymphomaniacal. So I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will link you to the Gore House Productions Bandcamp page, where you can stream this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy being purchased or not. You can purchase it digitally or physically through the CD. It is also available in combo packs with a t-shirt, and I believe there is also there's a flag of the artwork. So I'm going to show you the album again. This is Systematic Mutilation by Phalloplasty. This is released on Gore House Productions. Check this out. I'm going to give this a very solid 8 out of 10. Really, really hard-working one-man brutal death metal from a really solid act that definitely knows what he's doing. So support Phalloplasty. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for joining my channel. And until the next time, Army Hell out.